Hey everybody, it's your buddy Beard Grizzly of yours. What? So, as we continue on with our look at the Nine, we're brought on to the part where we look at their representatives, Xur and the Emissary. Both of these seem to be linked together for more than just their involvement with the Nine, and I will warn ahead of time, some of my thoughts here may be considered a bit morbid, but when you're dealing with Xur, especially being a cluster of dead cells, well, I don't really have much of a choice now, do I? I will say that part of my thoughts play back to the last discussion we had on the black hole or whatever you guys think it is, and how it doesn't make any bloody sense at all. So, if you haven't seen that video, I encourage you to do so, or else you might be a bit lost. Fair warning, sorry, too many things to cover, moving on. The Emissary will be the first we take a look at. She seems to exist, but then not exist all at the same time, able to change her location on a whim from platform to platform, or even existing on all of them at once. Of course, going flawless in trials reveals something even more interesting, with the Emissary changing size altogether. This certainly suggests that our Guardian is into some kind of hallucinogens, if you ask me. Added, her mouth doesn't move when she speaks, and there seems to be another voice underneath her own, seemingly a male's voice.
You faced judgment relentless, and now you're here, at the end of all things. You are worthy. When the time comes, seek us out. Watch for us on the filaments of dark matter, in the hydrocarbon pits of distant moons.
This duality at face value really makes me think of some type of double speech or a sock puppet mentality. This isn't entirely above the Nine, however, especially with Xur. Xur is nothing more than a culmination of dead cells being risen from some unknown location, possibly permanently or temporarily. Not much is known of how Xur acts and handles, how he's formed, who he speaks to, well, minus his ramblings in the Nine, of course. At current, the Emissary doesn't speak on the Nine themselves, or at least that I've been able to hear, and I'm led to believe we may have another case of the speaker on our hands. I speak for the Nine, but I never said I knew what the hell they were. Again, this is semi-face value, especially with that male voice undertoning her own in certain voice segments. We don't hear it in everything she says, but certainly all of the important dialogue that she has. The rest seems repeated, like a repeated part of a message, which comes down to something she's already heard or been told to say. What's also interesting is how the Emissary communicates with us on the field. She has no ghost, seemingly, and has no other means to communicate with us on the battlefield. We still hear her voice when we're fighting, however, even if it's just simple phrases, introductions, and so on. This makes me really think there's something more going on here, and this, again, ties back with the Ahamkara and their terms of suggestion, being able to addle the mind with thoughts and ideas that may not necessarily be true. Anyway, the Nine are not above some kind of puppeteers. Being that the Ahamkara are very much into mild to severe manipulation of the mind, I'm really left to feel some level of control with the Emissary as well. After all, Emissary defines as a person sent on a special mission, usually as a diplomatic representative. The last word is the big deal here, representative. Xur could very much showcase as the same thing, being a representative of the Nine's power and what they may offer us. Neither position is very different, just a matter of how you may view them, with the high spinny tower being the place the Emissary resides, out in unknown space, and Xur's playground being the solar system, out scouting the place for information about us or otherwise. The Emissary's main feature, the jewel in her chest, harkens back to a bit of old sci-fi as well, even though it's a movie I don't generally like to talk about. Bungie has a serious knack for making me do this, I swear. Star Trek the Motion Picture has a character named Ilea, played by Perseus Khambatta. Her character is seemingly abducted or broken down into computer code for use by the antagonist, simply known as V'ger. V'ger uses Ilea throughout the movie as a type of probe to seek out information on the crew of the Enterprise. This is mostly done by the jewel that sits in her chest, and in a later scene, Spock is seen trying to mind meld with it. This jewel, it seems, is the holder of all that information and the key to Ilea's ability to transmit it back to V'ger. My extreme nerdism aside, I can't help but see a similar feature here with the Emissary. As it is, if I'm onto something with the ideas of the Ahamkara being in control of some levels of the Nine, then perhaps this extends out to the Emissary and to Xur. First, however, let's talk about Xur a bit because I feel like I haven't given a lot of love to old Tentacle Face. Xur talks of himself as a collection of dead cells. He says some existed on Earth while others came from other planets and moons around the system. He mentions about feeling pain or something akin to it while being in the inner worlds of the solar system, and he continues to talk about his ability to control his movements. My actions are not my own, and such phrases otherwise. The Ahamkara fit this bill to a T, and it's hard for me to avoid that thought altogether, at least. After all, Xur speaks on the message he was meant to carry to us, but he seems to forget it by the time he reaches us in the tower. Suggestion can be a powerful tool, but without some kind of constant reminder, it loses its grip over the possessed. Xur walks about with a lot of Ahamkara bone-laced equipment. He deals it to us along both games and seems to be able to get a hold of the stuff rather easily. What better way to exact some kind of revenge on those whom sought to wipe out your species than to addle the minds of those whom killed some of your kin? His dress seems also cobbled together of warlocks, hunters, titans, and all, or at least some semblance thereof, suggesting a possible origin, but that's for next time. The Nine also seem to know about us rather well, and I can't help feel that part of that is due to Xur being around the tower to gather information on us, scouting for potentials far in advance. Anyway, Xur seems like a fairly real personage. We interact with him, he's within typical spaces that we can visit, and all seems pretty well and fine with him. It's the Emissary that I have a problem with. She appears to be in one place, then another, then another. And if you were to pull out your ghost within the spire, then you'd see she exists on multiple levels at any given time. Her dress seems rather dignified, but it's her natural characteristics that worry me in a way. The eyes she seems to have mimic those of Xur, a feature that glows and pierces into the eyes of the beholder. Whether there's significance here or simply just the way we're meant to see her is up for debate. Her left foot to the middle of her calf is a bit odd, however. It's almost like she has one foot in with the darkness. Then again, it's hard to not point out the other obvious tie-in with her feature, that bandana-like mask she seems to have over her eyes. Though it's not the same, it's an interesting parallel with another dark-touched member of Destiny we know of. Come home when you can, Eris. You're missed by some. Anyway, the jewel in her chest, the clothing she wears, her features in general, if the black hole in the space we visit is simply an illusion crafted by the Ahamkara, then she possibly could be as well. Think about this for a moment. The voice she has, the female one, sounds real enough. It rattles off bits of judgment now and again. Truly, however, the voice that's most interesting is the one underneath it all, the male voice. We've discussed already that the Nine are not without some kind of sock puppet mentality. To simply use the Emissary, her lips not moving, her ability to speak with us through telepathy, her dual speech pattern and dual sounding voice, well, not only is it like the scales of judgment balancing male and female, but it also makes me think she's simply something for us to look at, for the shape of something to have taken, similar to what we see in my continued favorite grimoire card, Majestic Majestic, where a manifestation of darkness takes over an ogre. Or it could be an elaborate lie, one that simply tests who we are as individuals on a team, one that looks down on us in combat to see if our personality is a fit for what the Nine are truly looking for, using the Ahamkara as a conduit for this power, while the true Nine speak through them to us, with this seemingly different creature we've never seen before. I think this also calls to my feelings on if the Emissary is the Queen, and I have to give a deadpan, no, I don't believe so. I see no evidence to support it, and the line about, oh hell, here.
I can hear you clearly. My brother is too distant.
Xur is a male. Xur could easily fit the bill of being something similar to a brother to the Emissary, just as much as the ideas of Marasov and Uldrensov. When dealing with the Ahamkara, however, I can't help but stress the importance of not trusting everything you hear and taking it at face value. Plus, the Emissary and Xur both have tentacles, at least in different positions. Xur I can trust being a real thing, but the Emissary? I don't trust her any more than I can talk with her, and I seemingly can't do that to begin with. Our ghost is silent the whole way through the observations of us in the trials. We have no more answers of what she or the Nine are, minus that they seemingly want to help us, and they seemingly want to know what we're made of. This is the shortest chapter we have to speak on, but don't think it ends here. Xur still has one major point to talk about in particular, namely, how his cells are risen, and who is involved in doing so. Next episode, we'll meet another group that is seemingly part of or involved with the Nine. You'll just need to give me a little spark of time to cobble things together. As always, the like and dislike button are there to tell me what you thought of these ideas in a nutshell, and I would love to hear what you have to tell me on my ideas. If you're not sure what to say, however, you can leave the phrase "Emissary of Nothing" to show what the emissary may very well be involved with. If nothing else, however, I thank you for sticking through to the end, and I thank you more for listening to my thoughts. Until next Spacetime Guardian, take care.